Like, not that I think it's overrated. I
No,
mean,
no. I mean, again, if it's your truly opinion, but it just seems the most random thing sometimes when they go out and say something like that. Just like, hey, let's get some clicks and get some angry Marvel fans out of saying, if it's your opinion, I respect it. If you're just trying to troll, that's a whole different ball game.
well, I think like we have
Aim,
obviously
aim higher than that.
like we have some news and we have like the movies and TV shows kind of coming back, but I still think it's still relatively kind of light out there. So people like to get clicks or stuff like that and everything too. Is they wanna get some traffic and everything, but
I can again aim higher if you're gonna try to troll someone. At least have an interesting debate. Don't be don't again don't go after the low hanging fruit. That's just
yeah,
like someone saying BVS is terrible. Martha, come on, we're still talking about it.
yeah, it's been quite a while. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, well, hopefully movies. I know we're not talking about on the show, but I hope that that Black Widow China date is true. I really am waiting for the next few weeks here. Just want to know.
Yeah, I mean I'd say at some point. I mean it's pretty obvious when you have that break between Falcon Winter Soldier and Loki. Between those two, that month, that's obviously where they're planning Black Widow to drop. So
Yeah, which was nice to see, but I'm not expecting it till I see it in a theater or my VOD,
yeah.
my VOD or whatever Premiere
But
Access right now.
I
So
thought Paramount doing it like those two movies, the Mission Impossible. I can't remember the other one. Oh, The Quiet Place. Um, the 45 days after. I said, yeah,
mhm.
I can. That's a fair attempt at it. That I like seeing that.
Yeah, I think we'll see more of that for those impatient people. You know.
Hey, if I already didn't get my shot, I'd be one of those impatient people.
Yeah, no, I was just laughing at Chapek's comics there about people being impatient. It's like, yeah, you can think that, but I just think you got to watch what you say sometimes, you know. So, but
Yeah. Oh,
whatever.
yeah. Well, yeah. Well, that was like you said. I don't think Iger would say something to that effect.
Man, it is crazy. 17 days until both Falcon Winter Soldier and Snyder Cut. Like I'm just looking at a poster. It's just
Hmm.
strange. It's just, it just hasn't set in yet.
It's a good month. It's
It
going to
is,
be a
yeah.
good week.
I will share this to the group.
Okay, and then I will tweet it
Oh, and
out.
is that this week or next week Coming to America 2 is coming out?
No, this week, 3 days. We were,
Wow.
upstairs. We have our Fire Stick, so that's like front and center. I've already seen a couple of reviews. I never expected it to equal the first one, but it's a big
No.
nostalgia piece. I was a huge fan of the first one, so I'm definitely checking it out.
I did. I thought I still had one more week. It's a crazy week this because that comes out, Raya comes out, and there's one other movie too that I was interested in that comes out. I don't think I'm getting it because I think it's still just in
Is
theaters
Raya
and our
this
theaters.
week?
Raya's this Friday, yeah, March
Wow.
5th.
Okay. I've seen very positive stuff about it, so I might actually front the money and get it.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's something else, but yeah, no, I just hate how they call it Coming to America, but TOO. It just I hate these new titles we're getting too. As far as like, I hate like the Halloween. Like it wasn't even a reboot. That one, the newest one, Jamie Lee Curtis, was
Yeah,
just
it's not.
Halloween. So it's
Yep.
just like we have three movies that are just called Halloween. You know, like give it a subtitle. But then I should not speak because the subtitles they gave the next movie were Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. Like they literally just went on a dartboard and just said, "What word can we end after Halloween?" Like those are Halloween Kills is a terrible title. I hate that title so much. It's just like I have nothing against the title being like, oh, no. It's just like this is all you can think of it. Halloween Kills.
I think it's always like the good horror movies. You got Halloween, Scream, just
Hmm.
one, 2 syllable things.
Yeah, Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends until they make another one.
Kills again and again.
Oh yeah, Kills Again is that's a for sure title we could get one day.
All
Okay, tweet out there.
right. There it is.
Oh, let's see what the people are saying. It's Tony the Tiger. Have a great weekend. I don't know. I don't. Sometimes Nathan, I don't know what world you're in. Maybe I missed something about Tony the Tiger. Maybe I did miss that. But if not, something going on, but all right, it's tweeted out there. Share it to our fellow podcasters. And here we are.
No Way Home. Well, we all had an idea of what this title was going to be. No Way Home.
And we all got it right with home being in the title, you know? So
We're all a winner. We're all a winner. All right.
No, that weekend will be Tony the Tiger Gray. Oh, I see. You're talking about the 18th and 19th. Yes, sir. Well, Nathan, are you even going to have time to watch Falcon Winter Soldier? I just feel like I heard your day plan. I feel like you said you're going to watch Zack Snyder's Justice League, and then you're going to watch Man of Steel VVS, and then it again. I feel like you're going to have no bandwidth that weekend to watch Falcon Winter Soldier. You're going to have to wait till the next week, which wouldn't be bad because if you wait till the next week, you get a double header. That was one of the best things about having those first 2 episodes of WandaVision, that 1-2, and I like that with Mando. So also we're not getting that with Falcon because we only got 6, but still, double headers are nice. So, what else? Oh no, that's later on. It's the Mighty Ducks, and then you know what?
Yeah.
Here's another thing because we're a little late, but I'll just say one more thing that grinds my gears, and then we'll go. I just hate I'm a big fan of the Proud Family, that show, and you may see me tweet about it. I hate these revivals that we're doing where it's just like it's new episodes, new shows, the writers come back, but the characters are the exact same age. Why? What's the point? Like, why don't
What show are you talking about?
Proud Family. It was probably after your time as far as kid shows. Even for me, it wasn't. But if you probably saw on TVs in the era of like Recess and stuff like that, like those type of shows, and it was a Disney Channel show, and it's about like a black family, so it's like very like going forward as far as like there wasn't many of this. It's an animated show. I found it very funny. It's a big hit, and then like they're doing a revival, so that's great, but all the kids and everything are like the exact same age, so nothing's really changed. They're just doing new stuff. It's just like, it's part of the reason why The Simpsons and Family Guy bugs me. It's just like, are we ever going to get to the point where, these kids, like Bart's ever going to age? No.
You got Rugrats, you've got Fairly Odd Parents.
Yeah, those are just staying the same.
Live action now.
And that's like, obviously, I think for me, I have way more problems with Incredibles 2. I think Incredibles 2 is maybe the most overrated Pixar movie of all time. I think that is just like they phoned that in. But one of my big problems with
that sounds like a new Geek verse kind of pull. Change my mind.
Oh, that was our review. Literally, it was like Incredibles 2 is overrated because there's so many good reviews. And me and Dylan's favorite movie was Incredibles, and we both were watching that together and just like, this sucks. I don't think it sucks in the way of like it's a fail, but just like all this time waiting, and just that one of my biggest disappoints was like the kids were the exact same age. We literally just picked up 3 minutes later. Like there's so much potential to age them up even a couple years to see what they're doing. But no, I just feel like it's such a lazy, just like, oh, they're the same age and they're the same problems. It's like, whatever.
Hey, WandaVision makes fun of it by like 1 minute you're born and then the next season they're 3 years old or 5 years old.
That's probably why I love the show. They didn't stay as kids too, and I don't mind them staying as kids, but they just aged very quick, So
well, there's some rumors I didn't put in our chat. There's some rumors regarding the kids. Did you see them?
No, I did. I didn't look at them because I will say too that well, I guess that was from the direct. I've stopped reading some of Murphy Multiverse's theories because, so to be honest, I got spoiled on Evan Peters being. We knew he was in the show, but I got spoiled because he was like, well, and as we've seen from the leaks, and I looked the article up and down, he never put spoilers warning, and that was annoying. So he just like assumed everybody that read the article, it was like his theory of who Evan Peters was really playing, and it was about him playing Mephisto. But in the article, there never once said spoilers, so I didn't see the leaks, everything like that. And then once I saw Evan Peters, I just clicked away, so I didn't know the actual how it happened.
That's why I didn't put it in any of the chats.
Yeah.
So,
and that's why it's like I didn't know how it happened, but I was like, no, I'm not gonna. And that same thing like that, I saw it, and that doesn't spoil me enough because like it's still a speculation piece of like this may have happened. But yeah, that was one where it's like, okay, obviously that's why it's not on the show. But yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, we're on after 9. I just hope that we don't have to wait for Doctor Strange too long because that wait is gonna kill me if it's like the show ends on big cliffhangers. We got a little while, but. There's not much I can do. I can just sit here and wait and hope. So
enjoy the time. So, all right, you ready to start a show?
I am, sir.
All right, in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. From the comics, TV, and movies, we'll go from the Mojoverse to Earth 616 to Westview to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the Uncanny Chris.
I'm the podcaster of Mischief, Drasnell.
Alliance, assemble.
Boom. Volume 38. Almost the big 4-0. DC had their 4-0. We're coming up. They're a little older than us.
Yeah, we took that break over the holidays. They're a little more workhorses than we are.
Yeah, they're glutton for punishments over there. But how you doing, sir?
I am doing well. Got my first round of vaccine last week. I had a
nice.
good week of reading some comics on Marvel Unlimited and DC Universe. So it's been a good week, and work week's starting off pretty well.
Yeah, I'm learning the troubles of buying two, as you can see, over to the right shoulder and then to the left shoulder. I'm having trouble buying two omnibuses at the same time. I am going back and forth and reading them, but like getting them literally a week apart was a mistake because I wanted to go through them. And then Moon Knight, I feel like I leave to the side. I'm like, I'm sorry, Moon Knight, I'm coming back. And I read Spider-Man, and then so it's not really a tough life, you know. And then you guys, like, I read other comic books, and then I'm gonna read the Scarlet Witch one you're gonna talk about later. So it's just like all this stuff is coming. So I am still gonna buy my omnibuses this year, but it's made me question of like, you know, I gotta set real time aside to do some reading here soon because it's they're big. I don't think I'm even like 25% through both of them. It's just
I can only I'll read like up to a certain arc of one. Like I just got through with, like I was telling you offline, Snyder's half of New 52 Swamp Thing. So now I'm going to move over to starting Darth Vader, the first run with that leads up to Dr. Aphra. So I'm going to read that and then Dr. Aphra. So I can't do two at the same time necessarily, just because my mind doesn't work like that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I try to do like a few issues, like maybe 4 or 5, and then jump over. So right now, I think I'm more in Spider-Man because Moon Knight's in a couple more like crossover issues that are more fun. I'm excited to get back to the Soul Moon Knight stuff, but it's Marvel Unlimited Comics. It's a good time, you know. So
hey, 3 month wait now, no more 6. So
yeah,
DC Universe will do it one day. They'll move up to 3 months.
Let's see. So Nathan said, I do think I'm going to pick up the Tom King Vision run. Definitely do it, as obviously we read and whatnot. But it's especially after this, like it's not. You'll see that it's not the exact same story, but tons of influence there and whatnot, and it's really good. Yeah, Kirklin's doing the same thing. He's not even for a podcast; he's just reading it, and that's the best thing about Marvel Unlimited is like you read something and then it's just right there. So
and then Nathan, definitely read that West Coast Avengers run, Vision Quest, that 4-issue run, and then Scarlet Witch. It's a good kind of 3 thing. You can kind of deep dive into WandaVision and kind of see all those influences.
Well, there you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are part of Geek Ultimate Alliance. This is a podcast network that has shows 7 days a week, 10 shows. Monday is World's Finest True Believer. Chris, you had a new episode this week covering a sequel for one of the most, not anticipated, it's already out, but one of the most highly regarded stories in Long Halloween.
Yeah, Tim Rooney returned to the show. We're looking at he was early. This is his 3rd appearance on it, but his very first with Long Halloween. So we decided to come back and revisit Dark Victory, the sequel to Long Halloween, and deep dive into that. And kind of we did a little bit of kind of talking about Matt Reeves and what he could possibly pick up with this movie, since he kind of called this one out in particular as an influence of it.
Very underrated story. Like I feel like people don't talk about it enough, and I get it because like Long Halloween is definitely the bee's knees everyone talks about. But it's like Dark Victory is, one, a good story in itself, but 2, just a really good Robin origin story. I think Haunted Nights is still really fun. I don't think it's up to these two, but like I guess it's a different art style, but I love them. Like obviously I'm biased. Long Halloween's, like many others, my favorite. So it's just
can't go wrong.
No. So, so that just happened. You can find that on the podcast feeds along with DC Alliance. They talked a bunch of stuff. Zack Snyder just did the IGN Fan Fest. You got a new Superman movie, a bunch of stuff over there they're talking about. Today is our day, and if you want to know when we record live on Tuesdays, DC Alliance on Mondays, but that's why you just follow us on Twitter, whether it's those shows, Geek Ultimate Alliance, you can just get the notification right when we go live. Thursdays is Katie's Day, shared with Ranger Alliance, which I believe they're back this week. This week, I think, is a slice of film. I actually don't know. I've not talked to Katie. I don't know who it is because I know she's planning on trying to do Rhea, and Kirklin's volunteered, but I don't know what is this week's episode. So tune in to find out.
We got a surprise.
Yeah, that's why again, Twitter, it's all there. Everything's there. Friday, live, Super Civil Servants, and then it goes podcast feed on Saturday. Superhero discussions Friday. They are about halfway through Batman the Animated Series. I'm excited because lately in my job, I haven't been able to listen to podcasts, so I'm going to do just a binge listen of them soon. I got a day where I just have to do a bunch of paperwork, so that's what I'm going to be doing. So check that out. That's always fun. And then Saturday and Sunday are Weird Science, bringing you the Marvel and DC Comics roundup. So everything I just talked about is down below. I made it. I made this thing down below. I've said to other podcasters they can just throw to it. I should start doing it myself, but give everyone a little love. But yeah, everything is down below as far as where you can find us, the days. If anything changes, we kind of tweet that out as always. And then on Patreon, we got a $1 tip jar just to thank you. And then the $5 is to support us. It all supports us, but even more so. And it gets you ad-free, exclusive, and early episodes. So sometimes we get episodes weeks early, maybe a couple hours early, but they're all ad-free and exclusive ones. I know the last exclusive was Hines and Clay. They just reviewed Last Ronin issue number 2. So that's up there. And then Katie and Sarah did Bridgerton a few weeks ago. So you already got some stuff, and there's been multiple episodes for the past few months. So, and again, thank you as always for the support. It means the world that people are listening, watching. It's good to have you all aboard. So did I miss anything, Chris?
No, but I think we got it. So I think we've been teasing for the last couple of days a big announcement, or basically for the last week or so. So I think it's time to, like a Band-Aid, rip it right off and give the fans what the big news about what is happening with the show.
Yeah, so we're firing Greg and Travis Hines, and we will be hosting both Marvel Alliance and DC Alliance. No, I'm just joking. I'm sure Chris like, what? Yeah, we're hosting every show. No, so we've talked about this a few times. If you're a longtime listener, you'll probably know some of this, but if not, for new people, I'll give you just a little kind of history lesson. Speaking of Justice League coming up, is so you probably knew like a month ago that there was this time where I had like a whole solid month off, right? And I was not here and everything like that, and lots of great guests filled in for me. And with my job, I've luckily gotten a promotion. Now, that's the thing where real life stuff can kind of interfere with other things. And that's where, unfortunately, it has interfered with this show as far as this fact where before it's like, oh, I could come back on this point, I'll be gone for a few weeks. But this got to a point where it switches my schedule to kind of a very kind of annoying point, and that's not just for Ultimate Alliance, that's for Geekverse, that's for other things as well. And the hope is for that to pan out eventually. But the biggest thing was as you saw when we did the show originally, it was on Sundays to Mondays, and then we switched it. And then there's times where we kind of maybe recorded a little earlier, did a bunch of flopping, or got guests. I didn't want to do that. Now, the biggest thing is just to say that as a full-time host of Marvel Alliance, I am officially leaving. My last episode will be the whatever the week is of Falcon Winter Soldier, that debut.
The 23rd will be,
Yeah, so the 23rd. So that's part of the reason why I did it, because I wanted to still have a month and a little bit, not just like, hey, I'm gone and then be it. Like, just have some fun for the next little bit. Next week, we hopefully have a guest, but then that week after, we'll do probably just episode me and Chris. And then we are talking to people. And as far as the reason, and any podcast network people, if you're listening to this, reason we didn't tell you is because people like Greg can easily just slip it somehow. And same thing as far as who's and don't ask Chris, don't ask myself, as far as who is hosting Marvel Alliance when we make that
decision. Because guess what? We're going to have tryouts.
Yeah, we're going to have tryouts. But
tryouts.
You also, when we confirm, you will not know till the show airs. We will know like everybody else, because I can't trust some of you. You guys got slippery tongues. I love you all, but sometimes it just slips. So, but yeah, so that's something that's happening because it's just my schedule, and that's been the kind of the crappy thing. The only con as far as the podcast network has been, I didn't know when I was recruiting people, they're all Eastern people, and that's been the biggest thing. Is like almost everyone. I learned that the first week, and that's the biggest thing where I don't want the show to have to suffer and always be in flux, and I also don't want Chris to stay up to the crack of dawn just talking about comics and whatnot. Maybe one day if we're ever going to pay the big bucks and whatnot, sure, I'll say, hey, Chris, you got to stay up. But you know what? Not today, because he's
wait till June, and then it's a lot less of a problem.
yeah, exactly. So that's where I am leaving, and it's not a thing that I really wanted to do. Like me and Chris said, like it hasn't even been a year, and it's been funny because we started the podcast network, and this is just like a little bit of insight. But like I was always like, okay, I know we have a big DC heavy fan base, so if we can just kind of stay toe to toe with like DC Lions and some of that content, I'll be happy. And like lots of times we have, and lots of times we've done better than them. They've done better than us, but like that's been the biggest thing. Is like I know that we have a lot of people at Marvel as far as fans at Geek First, but I know you guys brought over a lot of DC, and that's been the biggest thing as far as people even giving Marvel a shot or even listening to our show because they like us and they support us. And that's the thing where it's a big bummer for me. I did not want to leave. I tried. Chris knows I've sent him many paragraphs like, well, I'm trying to do this out and this out, and it's just a pain. So the biggest thing that I can say is that I still will be on at least once a month. There's lots of times where I can adjust my schedule to at least be one time off. What I can do is shift some work to Monday and then get off a little early Tuesday. I can't do that every week because orders change and stuff like that. But you're not hearing the last of me, and especially on the podcast network, I'm always going to guest on stuff. And that's one thing where there might be sometimes now where I might have a random Friday off. So I might be like drop on SES more and stuff like that because lots of times I wouldn't guest that much on other podcasts because I kind of save the one Eastern slot for Chris because it's tough for me because for family wise, everyone's still up and whatnot. I like to usually podcast when kids are in bed. So this was always the exception because I love doing this show. And that's the big thing too is like I don't really worry about leaving this because it sucks. I'm bummed. I'm going to try to appear as much as I can, like I'm saying, once a month. But the biggest thing is just Chris. I've had a great time podcasting with you. We met only we met a few times on SES, but then I asked you like, okay, I want a good co-host and whatnot, and you have and this is for I've said this before, but people like. I show up and I have my input and whatnot, but he does everything, our rundowns, our topics, everything like that, so he does a lot of work for this show. And as far as, and not to put anybody else down, not raising someone to lower them, but as far as just the network goes, he's always doing stuff when people are sick, when they need a guest call. Even when Chris has been like, his bandwidth is max, he's like, oh, okay, well, someone needs me, and like I really respect that, and that's just been the biggest thing as far as like podcasting with you, sir. It's been a good time, and that's where it's like this is not the end of this. We're gonna be podcasting for a while. Whether it's me, we've already talked about on World's Finest True Believe, I'll be back. I'll have you on Geek First, SES stuff like that. Like this is, and that's the thing, and it won't be months because my contracts I've at least signed on for a year, so it'll be a while. But like the thing is, in the future, things always change and whatnot, and I've just had like a really good time podcasting with you, sir. And I think that's been the biggest thing. And that's where I know when we get a podcast, we'll make sure a podcast host that'll be someone that's good to match you. But that's been the biggest thing. People have said that they may not even like Marvel, but they like our chemistry. That's whether it's from the podcast network or Geek First, and we balance each other out really well. And you never know that because you and I had never hosted a show together. We never even did World's Finest True Believer till after Marvel Alliance. So I was like, okay, let's see how this goes. And it went great. And no, sir, it's just been a pleasure to, like I said, I'm not dying. This is not the end. We're still going to podcast many times, but like as far as a full-time basis, this has been an absolute pleasure. And I'm not worried about the show because you're hosting it. Like that's the thing where if I wasn't confident, then I'd say, okay, we got to change the time. We got to do something, but I can willingly leave and know, okay, it's in good hands. Like I said, I'll be back. I'm kind of going to be like, in Avengers Age of Ultron when Thor says he has to go looking for the stones. That's me, where Thor's going to keep popping in and back and forth. One day I'll come back with the, with Stormbreaker and everything like that. But yeah, I'm not too worried about the show because it has you, sir. So, but I've enjoyed my time here, and I'm going to enjoy my time what else we do,
Yeah, no, well, I appreciate all that. And like you said, it's been a fun ride as I'll take a little DC as Aquaman says, right? Cyborg says, right? Ain't over yet. So no. And so it's I've never, World's Finest is always every other week at that point was recording. So doing a weekly show, as SCS, I was pretty regular on there. I've kind of scaled back a little bit with commitments and things like that. But this has been the, getting that taste of what weekly is like through there. But kind of this one, I consistently having to be every week at that point. It was a new experience, but I appreciate getting the opportunity to kind of be one of the tentpole shows of the network and getting that time with you. I know I gave you a little credit saying you couldn't even make it a year. Come on. So,
oh, I know, and I tried really hard, but that's where it's all career based, folks, and
Yeah.
it's one of
Oh
these
yeah.
things where it's like I've had my whole life not having. I've been a landscaper, so yeah, it's a grown up job landscaper making money. But this is the I yesterday. So usually my emails I have 3 to 4. Yesterday, Monday was my first day of my promotion. I get in there 27 emails. I went, maybe this was a mistake, you know.
Did you see my emails in the morning?
So I can believe it now. That's the thing where it's just like, you know.
No, it's been good, and you know getting the opportunity to work with you and the fun we had. You know, again, it's not goodbye. It's we'll see you next time. You know, until we see each other again, and it's gonna be like I said, we're gonna have some tryouts for for who's going to be the next host at that point. Where our tentative, hopefully we will have our host chosen. Our goal, we don't have a choice. Our goal is to have the host announced by the 23rd, but we're going to be vetting some people, and maybe having you all see a nice little, you know, montage of some of the tryouts.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, you know, get you a little involved there. So yeah, that's that. But that's why, like I said, I want to do, because then it's like next 3 weeks, either two things: you can enjoy the little bit of Travis Snell's full time, or you can say, "Thank God he's going to be gone," and now Chris can have someone better.
Be careful what you wish for.
Exactly. So, and you know what, Travis Hines, I saw you in chat. You lied. Say you're going to go read comic books. You're just trying to get the announcement out of us. But no, I'm going to the podcast network, touch base with everybody and whatnot. And it's been a good time. And like I said, we're still going to like Are we going to choose the host like Bachelor, American Idol?
No,
yeah, weekly. We're going to have vote polls. No.
No, I'm gonna take my pool cues and break them in half and say, "Go make it."
It's gonna take a lot of time though, because Chris is gonna have to send them out by mail because of COVID. So it's gonna be a long process. But no, and like I said, like there's like. This is you'll still see me a lot, even when I've already said that once. Now I have a little more time when my schedule's changed. I still got to do some Patreon stuff with Katie and Travis. When DC Fandom, I'm assuming, happens again this year, we're gonna do that same thing again. So it's like the same thing where it's kind of like what Chris talks about with SES. Like sometimes you see him less, but it doesn't mean I'm any less involved. I'm still gonna be producing and editing this show. You know, like I'm still like Marvel Alliance. I'm still very making sure it's gonna be successful. So. Yeah, that is everything. And then, so and you know what, just I think I said this already, but thank all of you for just supporting us, because that means nothing. Obviously, just the whole network. It's been great. It's always done better than we expected, like we've told you, but it's just been great to actually have people interacting and whatnot, and it's been a good time. And yeah, whoever the host is, I know you're going to do a good job. I'm going to be still sending fan fictions. I'm going to be, following around on Comic Book Club. If work permits, I'm going to get in the live chat like I can sometimes when I was not hosting and throwing my 2 cents. So no, you'll still feel the presence of Travis Snell around.
He will be back by the time Moon Knight comes on. He will be more consistent with Moon Knight.
100, like even whatever the case is, I will make sure at least the premiere I will book off of work or make sure to be early. I will be here for a lot of Moon Knight. So I will, and then maybe that's even sometimes like, even though this would not be the ideal thing, but even like that one time Moon Knight was cast and I call him from work on my lunch break. If there's any big Travis news, I always have an office to sneak into now and like, oh, you know what, I'll take my lunch break now, and then throw in the headphones. So
well, like I said, I appreciate you working with my schedule and the changes and stuff. A lot of those initial changes was Travis graciously moving it and fitting his schedule too. So
oh yeah, it's no problem at all. So, and like I said, in the future now, this is like a known thing. I'm gonna say some other stuff and like thank all the guests and everything. But again, thank to everyone too that's guested for me or it's with us. It's been a good time. But so let's see.
All right. So, but yeah, we got some ideas for tryouts. So Week of Sling, American Gladiators, not Canadian Gladiators. I don't know if that was a thing.
Travis, I trust you have to be lying if you say I thought the announcement was Fact or Fiction was ending. I don't think we would be teasing Factor. That would literally just be like, hey, we're going to stop that or we're going to do one a week. I don't think we'd be teasing. You know what? We got something big.
I did. The other thing was I was trying to figure out a GIF for it like that. It shows the one I did. I just didn't want to I was thinking Doctor Strange saying we're now in the end game now. People were like, oh my God, the show is ending. Nope. So I voted against doing that.
Oh yeah. Well, I know. I said to Chris, I had a couple hinty GIFs too. I was like, you know what? No, I just retweeted it, and then tomorrow when it goes live, I will officially announce to the Twitterverse. But you know what, Chris? We have an episode of WandaVision to talk about.
We got the penultimate episode 8. Oh God, the title.
Previously on.
Yeah. There we go. Previously on at that point. So this was a heartbreakingly sad episode.
Mm-hmm.
Just I think you had put it out there about at one point we were going to be getting a flashback episode,
Yeah.
because there was just way too much out there to not have it, especially when we only had 2 episodes left. Well, obviously it's going to have to be this one. We're going to have some flashbacks because there's just too many questions of things that we didn't have answers to. And I thought using Agatha to basically be kind of the ghost of Christmas past
Hmm.
and kind of take her through key moments in order to figure out how Wanda basically became Wanda, and letting us see some truths that were presented to us as what we found, like namely Haywood presenting falsehoods about Wanda's, taking vision and everything like that. I mean,
Hmm.
a lot of people are saying, and I've seen on social media just saying, this is the episode that they should submit if she's going to be up
Oh
for
yeah.
an Emmy or a Golden Globe, because she really had some amazing range, Elizabeth Olsen, on this one. So
Yeah, well, on that point, if people don't care about award shows, that's fine. I do. I'm a award show junkie. And the thing is, like, to me, if Mandalorian and Watchmen can get nominated, I think this can. Not for just, like, I'm not saying everything and whatnot. And Watchmen, I'm not saying the same level, but especially Olsen in particular, this episode, I think she's been great the whole season. We've talked about that as far as her range. But this was just, like, just such a 180 as far as the different type of range she can do. And
yeah,
yeah, we talked about that because it's just like, the way people are like, oh, this show's kind of drawn out like TV. It's like, well, yeah, it's a TV show. One of the
yeah,
one of the classic TV tropes is when you meet a character that you don't know that much about is like a flashback episode. So that's why I always, like you said, we either we're going to get it for Wanda because there's so much up in the air, or Agatha because she is a new player. There's not much known to her. If she was a villain that was like, if she revealed, hey, I'm Ultron, you don't need a flashback episode because we have a whole movie, right? Where this is like,
yeah.
we don't know that much about her and everything like that. And it was kind of a twofer as far as you learned about Agatha, you learned about her, you learned about how they relate. And it's been funny. I've talked about people, you can check out Geek for, it's like Clay had some issues, Kirklin had some issues. We joked about them after. And I've seen other people, but like, there's two things I get with the issues as far as the whole witch thing. That is just literally, it's a personal taste thing. If it's something you're not going to get on board with, then unfortunately, and that happens all the time. There's
Yeah.
some storylines in comic books, movies, Star Wars that I go, it's the same way for me in Star Wars when they introduced the idea of like some sort of time travel. For me, just never worked. I'm not a fan of it. I don't care what they explain. I don't explain how great it's in. It's just as I watch Rebels, I go, no, this is for me in Star Wars doesn't fit. So that's why if you watch the MCU to this point, you go, hey, this doesn't work for me. That's fine. I don't like the, hey, this is a bit like this makes the show bad or lesser than. It's just like a taste. It's the same thing as next week with Evan Peters. He's likely could get revealed as like a lackey. I'm gonna be disappointed, but that wouldn't go against my like final like score per se. That wouldn't be like
Mhm.
a knock against the show. It would be okay. I was disappointed, but here we are. And then the other kind of cons I've heard are there's some that of course are cons, but there's some that I feel that are more just questions as far as people being like, well, why is Hayward tracking Vision? That doesn't make sense. It's like, well, I think we're gonna learn that. I think there's lots of stuff where, and that's why on what we do on Geek versus with movies, some people don't, but we rate them. TV shows, we kind of wait to the end, and that's where I am with this, where there are a lot of questions. There are a lot of things in this episode that I introduced, but I think next week is going to open a lot of those and answer a lot of them. Not all of them, but most of them. But for me, it's one of these that I watched it. I was like, I'm not sure. This is definitely my top 3, but I don't know how much I like it. I think, and I rewatched it one more time. I think it is my favorite episode because it just really plays well. And I guess for me as well, I'm somebody, it sounds weird, but between story, plot, and character, I always like characters better. So it's like I could watch a movie that has a kind of a bad story, but I've invested with the character, I will enjoy it. And I don't think this has a bad story, but I think this just gave us so many moments of Wanda, yes, in the past, but also kind of in the semi-present and whatnot. We're going to talk about those, but I think this has just really flesh out her character. And we've heard Anthony Mackie say they're going to do similar things in Falcon Winter Soldier. I think this is great to do with these characters that got lesser screen time than our heroes did in the movies, if you want to invest in them. So I thought this episode was not a perfect thing, but kind of perfect for me. And I loved it. I love, like you said, the Ghost Christmas Past. It almost reminds me too of a video game when you're playing and like the villain or something's like taking you through different set pieces or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or like the Arkham games when you got hit with the scarecrow thing and you're going through your dead parents, Arkham, you see Jim, like I really liked all that. And yeah, so that's kind of my 2 cents on the just our opening scenes, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's definitely the moments that it takes. I like that we get for those comics, we know Agatha is, around her kind of origins date back to the Salem witch trials. And,
Mhm.
it's the idea of, I've seen the one I've kind of known Agatha is one of the ones who orchestrates the Salem witch trials to get rid of the weak witches at that point. And so, also in the comics, it's just seeing that kind of idea put forward at that point. It's a very quick origin for her.
Mhm.
Okay, yes, you would want more and just having it be like that, but that's okay. At least it just established, okay, she's been around for a very, very obviously, a long time at that point. And she's dabbled in quote unquote the dark arts and things along that nature. So it's one of those issues where, it brings in her character, but the way that she is pushed and that she pushes Wanda in the sense of, we see the idea that Wanda in her quote unquote lair is can't is not powered because of the runes that are they got more hexagons there. I mean that's
Yeah, well, and that's one of the things I don't. I've heard some people like, well, when she walks out of the room, how is she not just flipping shit? Two things. One, she does say, "Hey, I have your kids. You do anything, I'll
Mhm.
likely kill them." Right? And
Yeah.
two, okay, she walks through a door. Sure, I don't think it's like a literal door to somewhere. It's in her mind. Like I've heard multiple bring this up, and I'm like, it's in her mind. The door is in her mind. It's not meaning like she actually walked out of the room and then now she does end up back at Wanda's place. So you can make that argument later that they eventually transport there. But to me, it's just like it's a psychological door of opening. And even then, they threaten their kids. That's a superhero classic trope. Hey, don't do this. Why? I'm going to kill MJ. Hey, don't do this, Superman. Why? I have your mother. Like, once you have somebody, the superhero becomes inept and they don't know what to do. And you probably would too if someone just took some away. And what I want to say when you talk about the Salem witch trials or whatnot, I like the way that they framed it where at first it felt like it was normal people catching the witch.
Hmm.
And then I was like, no, like, but the
Nope.
argument was like, yeah, I could be a good witch. It's like, no, like, and so that's why I love that. It looked like a regular witch trial, like a witch hunting, but no, it was the other witches deciding, no, you're too bad. And even having to take out her own mother and whatnot, which is, I liked all that stuff. I guess comes down to, we kind of like, know that stuff is in the MCU, so it didn't bug me. But I can see for people that don't read comics how it is a switch. But even if you don't like it, I liked how it was done and the effects and the look of it all.
Yeah, and it's just seeing those moments. I mean, this was the episode that we kind of really saw the traumas of Wanda's life.
Mhm.
At least some key ones at that point. Seeing, we were proven wrong that the the man and the woman in the commercials were the parents. They weren't. They were just two random people that just were consistent at that point.
Or they're Mephisto. Could be
Uh,
next week.
Nightmare,
Yeah.
Cthulhu. I don't know
Yeah.
anymore. But seeing like a lot of times, like this is what I called out when they were doing the sitcoms in the beginning. I said this is how the kind of cliche, to some extent, truths that a lot of people in other countries or immigrants learned American culture.
Mhm.
This made sense, and this was their escape from with the war going on outside, and seeing all the
Literally
yes,
outside.
literally. And I know someone called out. I saw someone called out like the episode she wants a Dick Van Dyke. They put it on. That's apparently not the right episode. She called out the
Oh.
episode, and it's actually I think it's episode 20 of whatever season. So
Big fail. This
oh
show's
well.
terrible. I'm
Someone point,
canceling my Disney Plus.
but it just goes to the point of what she kind of internalized, and they used it to practice English and just as
Yeah.
a family moment, and then boom, everything just explodes.
I didn't
That's
see
where
that
we
coming. Like
no,
in that moment, I was
it,
so zoned out and just, oh, she's
mhm.
enjoying these
and
sitcoms, and
then
then boom.
and then
Oh,
in comes Green Goblin saying, "Finish the prayer."
yeah. Finish the episode.
um, but that I mean, we've heard about it, and then we seeing how it all went down.
Mhm.
And then the quote unquote manifestation of the powers, using a probability hex to wait 2 days and the bomb never goes off. And she said, you used a probability hex. And she's no, I just, my mind, I don't know. It's one of those, like, I thought it just was a dud. We just were so scared. And that would make sense as a child. You don't know.
Mhm.
It's not like she's that aware, but like it's almost like you have that moment where mutant powers manifest. I think back to like Charles Xavier, his
Mhm.
powers manifest in Cyclops, Magneto in the concentration camps. We've seen those sequences. So this is quote unquote her manifestation. But this is where we get into a debate. And I kind of wrote this down. Is she a mutant or is she a witch? You know?
Well, there's two things. One, because I've seen some people like, well, how'd she know to lift her hand? Okay, again, it's comic book superheroes. They all do this.
Stop
Like
trying
they
to
all
bring
have some
logic
moment
into
where it's
this.
like, well, yeah, and it's also just to me, it's just like if sometimes my second nature is like, oh, there's a car coming, you push someone aside or something like that. That's to me the same thing as like if a superhero has that, it's like that's their second nature. So one, that moment just completely worked for me. I liked it. I have a follow up for your question after, but for your first question, as far as is she mutant, is she a witch? I'll do the Tony Stark. Why not both? And I think it's what we talked about a little before air. Is like some people view God. Fuck. No, some people. Yeah, that's not that. That's not what I'm going to talk about. Yeah, some people view Thor in the MCU or comics as a god, and then others write him off as like, no, he's just an alien, and that's how these stories have come. And that's where it's like you could have it both ways because he could be a god, but technically he's from another planet, another race. It could be an alien. So it's the same way as you and I were talking about. It's like she's a witch. She's born a witch. There's witch trials. Her parents or whatnot could be connected to witch trials or witchcraft or whatnot. But the definition in the Marvel universe is if you are born with gifts, special abilities, you are a mutant. So if she was born with these, so it's kind of the way of like, yeah, you're a witch, but you're kind of a mutant too. And then you're this hybrid because you have this stone going around in you as well too. So it's just, I think it's like a hybrid. I think it's that argument of the witches would say, no, she's a witch. And the mutants say, no, she's a mutant, And I think it's a safe way because this is the question I was going to ask you, and I think we had a lot of this with, shout out to Star Wars Alliance, Rise of Skywalker, when that was coming out, and there's lots of theories like, oh, is Rey going to get a new identity? And she ended up, Rey Palpatine, Rey Skywalker. That's for a different podcast. But at the end of the day, there was this conversation of what is a reveal and what is a retcon, and like I know people are, and I think I've even used the word retcon, but it's like they could have, it's not like they bought Fox and then they did this automatically. They could have done this witch storyline even without Fox, right? Like her, Agatha, they didn't need, this is not, to me, if this was the flashback and it was Magneto moving the bomb, it's like, okay, this might feel like a retcon because maybe you didn't have this plan all the time. You definitely didn't have this plan all the time. But this still could have been the realm of possibility. To me, it's more a revelation because we just didn't have that much screen time within the movies and it wasn't about that. So I know people are saying retcon and stuff like that, but I guess I don't, that to me is a hard word. A retcon to me is completely ignoring something and then changing it. This is not that. This is like we talked about, you can check out our post-credit scene. We talked about Halloween. A retcon is this reboot where him, Michael Myers, and Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode are no longer brother and sister. They took that out and they said, that's not real anymore. We want them just to be, this type of relationship. That to me is a retcon. We didn't know, like, they just said, okay, she told the story, but this is also her as a child. So what do you think about that as a retcon versus a revelation?
It just depends on your perspective.
Yeah.
At that point where you're coming from. You and I are coming from comic book knowledge. So what we always have to rationalize as fans of the comics is just like, okay, this is taking what we know and putting their own spin on it. So, we haven't used that quote unquote word mutant. We've used the gifted, we've used the enhanced, it's the age of miracles. It's they've danced around this issue, yes, because of legal reasons, but it is what it is. So it's hard for me to say it's like a retcon because for me to say it's a retcon, it's just like, well, I'm bringing in knowledge that I know that hasn't ever been in this universe yet.
And it's like when we get Black Widow, if something's revealed in that happened before Infinity War, we can say, oh, they retcon that. No, it's just this is something in the past. I get why I'm not saying people are wrong or anything. I just to me a retcon is much more. Like I said, if it was that bomb's about to blow off and it is an X-Men, it is Charles Xavier, to me that's a retcon because like, yeah, we have the comic knowledge, but it's like clearly 3 years ago you couldn't have done that. And so you completely got new toys and you went, we could do this. This to me is still in the realm of possibilities. The same thing in Falcon Winter Soldier. They could reveal stuff about Falcon that to me won't be a retcon, it'll be a revelation. Now, I don't know, is there a retcon where it's like, let's say it's revealed he actually wasn't Snap and he was just pretending and he was hiding? Yeah, that would be, I guess it's a revelation, but it's like, no, that would be a retcon because you showed him on the board and everything. It's a very crisscrossy line, but I just felt that as like another type of issue people were having, like, oh, well, now they're saying she's this, but it's just like, Yeah, but when have we had the time to, like, even in Age of Ultron? That to me is one of my complaints of that movie. That movie, I like the movie, but it's very busy and very stuffed. So it's like we don't have the time. In Civil War, she's just kind of there. Infinity War, it's more about her and Vision. So if you're going to talk about her origins, and I think, like you said, reading comic books, they do this all the time, where they go in the past and they reveal something
They
that
literally
you
have
thought.
done it to Scarlet Witch. They have
Yes,
literally done this to Scarlet Witch.
they reveal something that you didn't know was there all along, but it happened. And to me, it's just, I guess it's like you said, it's all about perspective, but it's been interesting to see the discourse, and I think as we get closer to the finale, you get more of that kind of microscope type of feel of like because I think secretly, not secretly, but under people's heart, everyone wants them to stick the landing. I think this is the part where people right before start to go, oh, I'm getting worried. Even myself go, oh, what's happening here? But I'm overall still enjoyed the show quite a bit. So
Yeah, I mean, we get some kind of the next big moments. We see them being in Hydra with Von Strucker. The moment where she's opens, basically breaks apart the Tesseract and sees the Mind Stone, and she sees that visage of the Scarlet Witch. And if I've read this weekend the Scarlet Witch run by Williamson Robinson.
I'll look it up while you're talking.
Yep,
I have it in my library in Marvel
Unlimited. My other phone, I've got my phone on YouTube at that point watching the chat. But it was, as I was reading that, and our buddy Brent had said that he was reading it. So I said, I've got some time this weekend. I'll add it. It's 15 issues. I can knock out 15 issues in a couple of hours. So it was knowing the idea of, could a Scarlet Witch, is she the first? Doesn't sound like she's the first. It doesn't sound like from what Agatha is the first, and that is what that kind of story looks into. Is Wanda the only one? We've talked about Wanda being a Nexus being at that point. So she's a constant, but it may not be, the idea that Wanda herself, it's the idea of the Scarlet Witch may be the constant, throughout the universe at that point. So I liked seeing, and the idea that, they're watching the footage and it blinks from when she was looking at the Mind Stone, and then it blinks from that whole thing and she's down on the ground. So she is the one with the, blank, like cutting the footage at that point.
Yeah.
Whether at that point, maybe not knowing she's doing it, but now we know she knows how to do that.
Almost like she maybe was doing that in the previous episodes of WandaVision, remember, with Dottie and stuff like that. So the writer was James Robinson. You got the last,
yep.
you had the
James
last
Robinson.
name there.
I couldn't remember Williamson Robinson, but
yeah. So I see, and that's where again we talk about the witch stuff is fine for me. The idea of, and that's where I'm excited because, yeah, you and Brent were talking about that. I meant to read that. I'm going to try and read that before next week. The idea of, I like when Agatha says you are the Scarlet Witch. I like the idea of there's like a kind of prophecy or a chosen one sort of thing, like, oh, she could fit up to it. I don't know if I like the idea of like there's always been a Scarlet Witch and now she's the next one in line. And that's, again, just personal taste. Like, I don't know how I feel about that. I'd rather her just be the one, not in multi-universes like the Nexus, but I'd rather her just be the one Scarlet Witch. So that was a different wrinkle, and people have compared to like the Phoenix Force, and I think it's an apt comparison. Like even the visual of her coming through the stone, which I found was, because I'm never going to question Infinity Stones. We don't know if they can do whatever they really want, but it's just like that did catch me off guard too, for her to see this type of vision, right? And again, I don't even know if that's powered by the stone. That could just be the stone made her more powerful, and that's her powers projecting the vision through the stone. I don't know, but that did catch me off guard. I love all the images we've had kind of spliced together of the new costume, that and this. So do you think we will see the new costume next week, or do you think I do too?
Maybe. I'm maybe on the new costume. I think we will see the new costume. I will not be disappointed if we don't see it in the next episode. It could be kind of an end credits kind of tie-in at that point.
It'd be great if she gets on a jet and then she opens up a suitcase and looks at it and smiles. But then when we get to Doctor Strange 2, she's not wearing it. Just like in the Wolverine when they screwed over Hugh Jackman.
Oh, God. It was a brown costume, too.
And I don't even get it. A mini rant is like, they are doing Days of Future Past next. He could have had the costume on for the small moments he was in the future. He was in the future for like 10, 15 minutes. You could have the costume. And guess what? When he goes past, he's regular James Howlett with the jacket. Like, it was so easy to do.
Anyways, but yeah, you're preaching to the choir.
I could see the end credit stinger, her being with the call. Like, I think we could get 2 next week, by the way. I think we could get the way like the Marvel movies have the mid credit and end credit. I think one could be her with her costume on her new path, like going somewhere, or we wait till Doctor Strange. I'm going to say we do get it next week just because I could be wrong, but those photos of the poster,
Hmm.
she probably wore that costume. So that means, like, if they were waiting until Doctor Strange, they could have CGI'd that. They could have just done
Yeah.
concept art. But if there's photos of it, I'm assuming that they've screen tested her with it.
But she subconsciously, when she wore that costume, she said like this. But subconsciously, she knows what that image. She sees that image. So there's a reason why she did that costume for the Halloween episode. Like it's
Yes.
subconsciously ingrained. She just doesn't understand why. And then we get to probably most saddest part of this episode is the her discovering Vision, us seeing the truth behind the idea that she never stole Vision. Even Haywood saying like, not many people have, no one has the ability basically to turn. I think he said like turn no,
Back online. And then
back
she's
online,
like,
and then
excuse me. And he's like, back to
then
life. Yeah.
back to life. And part of me was like, I hear emotion in his voice, and I'm wondering in the sense of like, he lost someone due to the
Mhm.
snap, like someone personal thing, because it almost like there was a little bit of a, I wouldn't say a quiver in his voice, but just like the way he kind of said it. Yes, there's a little bit of biting when he says turn on, but it's almost like it, but we see that she can't, she said, I can't feel you. And she walks away. And so we know the truth behind Haywood is like, and people say, well, why is he tracking Vision? Because he sees Vision there, but he knows what we see in the end credits scene with White Vision. So he's tracking and say, what the heck is going on?
Yeah, well, no, and credit to, like, because I didn't bring this up on, I think, Geek first, because, we do that at 1 a.m. like idiots, so we're a little tired, but they were talking about that on SES, and Greg brought up, too, of like, well, this guy's going to all these lengths to cover this up. Yeah, he'd throw a fake tracker and be like, yeah, Vision's in the, like, it's very, if this guy can recreate Vision, I think he could put out a fake signal, be like, yeah, I'm tracking Vision, like, he's over there. So, like, that's very easy. And that scene with Hayward it was very interesting because it reminded me of, I'm assuming you've seen American Psycho with Christian Bale.
Yes.
And the very first time Willem Dafoe interviews him, the director shot that scene 3 times. They shot in a way where he believed that Patrick Bateman was innocent, he was unsure, and he knew he was guilty. And what they did is they shot those 3 things, and then the actual scene in the movie, they spliced all those scenes together. So each scene, it's like, oh, he's friends with Patrick. Then the next scene, it's like, oh no, he's really cold to Patrick. I don't think they did that here, but that's what it felt like. Where Hayward
But question for you: do you like Huey Lewis in the news?
Yes, I think their great stuff was in the '80s, and Phil Collins and Susudio was much better than. I'm
never.
not.
That song is now officially just like that scene that in that movie is just like, I'm sorry that.
And remember, folks, that's a scene where Batman kills the Joker. So there you go. But I don't think they did that in this scene. But that's what Hayward felt like, where it's like each cut, it felt like when he met Wanda Maximoff, it felt very warm, and then he got super cold all of a sudden. I was like. Yeah, he's just vibranium. I was like, dude, like, they had some sort of relationship, and then he's just like, I know you can't. So it felt like that. So I did like that. I do like, and I know some people might be disappointed in this. I do like that. It seems like he might just be more. I'm a guy. Like I'm just a bad guy, but not like a Hail Hydra. I'm not an Ultron. I'm a maybe a guy that doesn't do his job well. Or like you said, he's lost something. Maybe he lost something, not even the snap. Maybe it's the superheroes. Maybe it's like a Baron Zemo thing going on. And he's like, you know what? Screw these superheroes. And that's why he's trying to set up Wanda, right? So I kind of like that a bit better than I just feel like and it's still possible, Skrulls or Ultron. We still got 1 episode to go. I just feel like, okay, I'd be down, but I just got to see the execution of it. And right now with so much else going on, I'm just fine with Sword discovering, hey, this guy was a big mistake. This is why, because we don't even know. This is 3 weeks after or a month after Endgame, and I brought this up to someone else that we don't even know if Fury's working with Sword at this point. He wasn't far from home, but that's 8-9 months later. What if he's not? And what if this is one of the reasons they bring him in? They go with the devil you know, then the devil you don't know. It's like Fury hid stuff, but at the end of the day, he wasn't trying to kill our team. Where if Hayward is like setting up Wanda to snap and like for us to shoot her down, not a good look. So I like the route we're going with them. I am interested to see what we do there. And the other flashback too we didn't talk about was the Civil War, like in between Civil War and Age of Ultron, with the quote everybody is sharing, which they will share for ages, of what is grief but love preserving, and that's gonna persevering. Thank you. And that you're gonna see that on a lot of wedding vows, a lot of funerals. But you know what? Like someone said, that someone on Twitter I was following as a writer, they said that is a great line, and F that person for getting it, because it was one of those when you heard it, it just hit you. You're like, oh my goodness, you know.
And it makes sense coming from Vision at that point, how much he's learned in a very short time, and seeing that scene, and then seeing Wanda go to Westview and finding out that
Oh.
Vision bought the plot of land, and just like a foundation, it's an empty shell, just like Vision now is an empty shell, and her screaming, and when she activates, it's a perfect callback to the, how she's creating Westview to the variant of the House of M #1.
Mhm.
It's, you see, this was the episode to really deal with how much mental anguish Wanda has had. I mean, we've seen hints of it, we've seen different parts of it, and the fact that kind of how Monica Rambeau, and I want to pull this up because I wrote this down, where we get, give me a second, I'm trying to
Yeah.
load this up.
In Westview, you got to see all the regular people too.
All the regular
driving
people,
by.
but
Yeah.
with Wanda, kind of how, what is it? Monica comes back out of the hex, and she kind of talks about, what was it like? What was it feeling like? And you hear, going back to speech, after Civil War, Wanda says, it's just like this was a wave washing over me again and again. It knocks me down, and when I try to stand up, it comes for me again, and it's just gonna drown me. Monica has a very similar feeling. Like, there was this feeling keeping me down, this hopeless feeling, like a drowning. It was grief. They're literally experiencing Wanda's grief throughout this whole thing, because like, subconsciously she knows this is not real. Like,
Mhm.
she has literally created almost two split personalities for her, the one in the show and the one that's in the real world. And I've been a big proponent of that idea, that she has developed split personalities for this.
And it's, to me, like a good comparison to life. Like when Monica's saying that, like it kept rushing over. It's much way of like, we've all unfortunately been to a funeral or something like that. But if you're not close with the person, let's say it's a friend of yours, someone that's passed away, the second you know that person, like you can feel how they're feeling. It goes on to you a little bit. You take that on as far as compassion, and you get this like the big MCU version of that. But I think the other thing is, and I've seen a lot of people praise this, and we're gonna do this on Geek for soon, is Taylor and Kirklin, they're reading House of M for the first time. And one thing that I've seen a lot of people praise this for, and I have to agree, is House of M is a Wanda Maximoff story, but it isn't at the same point, because she's the inciting incidents and the ending, but she really does her thing and then she kind of moves away. It's not about her, where I think I appreciate this and many others been like, no, they've made this about Wanda. They've made this about how she's hurt, what she's going through. And to me, it's like we've talked about this over, like you, me, and Brent have talked about this over and over, but this was everything of showing how she's alone. What is she going to do? She's lost. That great moment when she's walking into Sword headquarters, and literally on top of the TV screens, it's showing all these families reunite, happy, smiles. And what is she? Like we talked about, alone. We had this huge moment where there's a win, but she's one of the only people that didn't win, because you know what? And you could argue someone like Pepper Potts, yeah, she lost Tony, but at the end of the day, she still is happy. She still has her kids. Wanda literally has no one. So this episode, everything we've talked about the whole season of why she would be going through this happened here. And I know I talked about this, I think it was episode 3 when they did Voodoo Child and that reveal, and I understood people's concern, like they didn't want her just to be like the crazy, like gone mad woman. And I think that's what this episode did to show, like, no, this isn't about like that trope. This is about a real life, like, and obviously you and I can't create a bubble and TV shows, whatnot, but people have all been there as far as loss of family. Yeah, not yet, but loss of family members or life. Like, I guarantee you that was a massive thing that happened during like 9/11, right? Like, I was younger, but it's just like sometimes there's just these moments in life that there's so much grief. And I think they've done a good job of highlighting that for one, and not just being like, oh yeah, she got a little mad and she made a bubble. You know, this episode was to show how much has gone through. And I will argue with some people, because they try to do the House of M thing where it's like, oh, look at these civilians. She gave them the life she wanted. Yeah, but like Norm is like, this hurts. It's free will. I think that's why I hope she is a bit more of an antagonist or a villain, because to me, that is the villain motivation of like, I gave you what you wanted, but it's like, yeah, but there's no free will. You didn't ask me. And that's where it's just kind of the Thanos thing of like, I'm trying to save you all. Yeah, by killing half of us.
Again, Spider-Man in House of M.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Because that is the quintessential thing about like what you just said is what happens to Peter Parker and Spider-Man in House of M.
I just read those 5 issues as well too. That's how, and I don't think she's ever going to be full on the Avengers versus Wanda, we have to kill her. I think she will be kind of a little higher than what Tony was in Civil War, in my opinion. Not very near the end, but they kind of showed him as like, he's going to be the antagonist for Captain America, right? But it was still friendly. I think we'll get to that point, but a little bit higher with Wanda. And
Yeah.
I think this sets it up with Loki, with Thanos, with stuff like that, where if she does get the villainous side, we buy it now. Before it's not, oh, she's a hero. How do we buy her switching sides? Is it too gimmicky? No, even if it's just like, none of you guys even called her. Like, and that's where it's just like the same thing. Like, are we ever gonna get that moment in Hawkeye or another show where it's just like if they hear about this bubble of like, hey, maybe we like that to me is great motivation of like everyone left and left me alone, and I'm somebody like help save the universe. And it's just like, where was everybody? And like that's that's a terrible thing. So I think she's completely believable as a villain if we ever get to that point.
Yeah, and the idea when we get the revelation, we get to see White Vision. You and I talked about, will we see White Vision? I think both of us said at some point it seemed to be logical, even before the show, that would be an idea. I'm thinking at this point we're going to get a Vision in Westview versus White Vision, and I think at some point I'm labeling a good Vision is going into the body, and then going to have that battle. And the big interesting idea that's been going around there is, is the actor that Paul Bettany's always wanted to work with is really Paul Bettany. It's an interesting idea. They have trolled us before already in this show. So could it happen? Sure. It's definitely very meta, and people are going to be like yourself. I could already see Travis is not saying, "Oh, come on."
Well, I think that's the case because with comicbook.com, Brand Davis, Matt Shankman just did interviews, and there's lots of stuff coming out about them. And one of the things, though, he asked him about that cameo Paul Bettany said, and he said something like, I'm just going to let him dig himself out of that hole. Paul can speak to that. And I was like, and I didn't even put that together. You can listen to Geek first. I didn't even think about it all till the day after when someone was just like, this is the cameo he was talking about, wasn't he? I was like, oh, no, because I just think that is trolling, and it is, but there's also, you gotta be careful with people's expectations, and that's what I worry as far as next week, that I'll be disappointed for sure, but eventually I'll go, okay, I'll move on. What was the show? What was the content? What was the story? But some people don't do that. Some people go, hey, Evan Peters was a random guy, and there was no big cameo. This finale sucked. And that will happen, right? People say, and that's where, for me, it's not so much against me, it's the setting the bar too high for other people where you get that bad reputation. You don't want to say, same thing, you don't want to say, hey, we have a big announcement on Marvel Alliance, and we go, Fact or Fiction's ending. We say, oh, we got to change the host up. That's not world shattering, but that is probably the biggest one we could make. And that's where it's like, same thing, if you say there's this big cameo, something you want to work your whole life, you got to be careful. And that's where it's just like, I think that will hurt them and the show after for some people, and you'll get lots of that on because I've already seen that with that. I've seen that with Evan Peters. Like, they better not just done that, and I'm worried about that. I do have a little more hope as far as the director's quotes going around this today of like, oh, it's something we'll have to talk about in the future. That's my only shining light of like, well, if he was just a lackey, I don't think you'd have to talk about it. All I've said to Kirklin, because Kirklin he's really like, they better be something like, and he'll still like it, but he's just like, he's worried, and I'm worried too, because I love him Peters, and I felt like he never got a fair shake in the Fox movies. He should have been more. So all my hope is if we don't get an answer, my hope, I'll be disappointed if it doesn't happen. I won't hold against the show. My hope is that they just reveal he's not a lackey and he's something more. Even if we don't get that answer till 3 years later from now, whether he's an actual X-Men, whether he's what I kind of want, the J.K. Simmons of this, like he's playing a new Quicksilver from a different universe, but it's not the Fox one. I hope, because I think the lackey thing is, if they do the lackey thing, I'll be very surprised. After that, they did that with Mandarin, that they kind of redid that again. I'll be very surprised. That's something, if you want to talk about retcon, to me, that is a retcon, where this is the Mandarin. Now they're like, no, this is the real Mandarin over here. So
You'll never see me coming.
Yeah, so I'm telling myself that it's not, he's just a lackey, because we didn't get much this week. She just called him Fake Tro, but that could mean anything. She didn't say he was a bodyguard or whatnot, and I'm saying it's a lackey, but I want some hope.
We'll see, but we'll see next week. So final episode next week. So we will have some fun watching it and start our debates of what's next. But you want to take our first ad break before we hit to some quick news items?
Yes, we will do that, ladies and gentlemen. This helps support the network, that helps keeps it grow. This helps keeps the lights on, these red lights on, everything in between. It helps support all the guests and shows. So thank you very much for listening to these. We'll be back in a few seconds. There'll be some ads. We do not pick the ads. Sometimes they be a little loud. Just kind of depends on your podcatcher. So we will be right back. And we're back with some news.
Yes, so let's start with, we haven't had this in a little bit. Let's start with our first news item is going to be revolving around Spider-Man 3.
After
We
one time we went
have,
for like 3 weeks, like 14 weeks of that
oh my
always being the
God.
same news. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we finally have some title after Tom Holland and Jacob Batalon and Zendaya had some fun on Instagram with some and totally basically the whole bloggers lost their darn minds
Oh yeah.
and everything. We finally have a title. It is they put it out there in a little teaser trailer, them coming out saying it's still another fake. Well, he's not going to tell us because Holland, you always ruin everything. You leak this and the other, and they pan over to the whiteboard that says Spider-Man No Way Home, and at the end of it saying coming to theaters, or what was it, like only in theaters,
Only in theaters.
this
Or
Christmas, which
December.
I'm still in shock it is coming out this year. I'm still like just kind of holding on bated breath to see if that can still hold that date.
Well, one thing I have to say, this must be a Travis pet peeve episode. I do not like when movies say coming this Christmas, but they don't actually release on Christmas. It releases December 17th. It doesn't release on Christmas. So I know it's going to be during Christmas, but come on now. That's not Christmas to me. That there's still, what is it like? There's still 8 more days left.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not Christmas.
It's interesting. I'm glad we finally have it. We've all on this people on the show, and all of us have come close to getting it at that point. But it's interesting. But I want to look at this whiteboard because I think there's some interesting stuff about this whiteboard. So I'm going to share my screen, and nope, I'm not the host. Host disabled, participant sharing.
Oh, how do I do that again? It's been a while. Let me see
what
here.
I can do here. I'll put it in our.
Don't do the thing like we did on After 9 where.
Oh, I have no idea what you did on After 9.
No, when we tried to do the shit, like look at my phone and put it up to the camera.
Oh yeah, no, not doing that.
Let's
not
see.
doing that. I'll just put it in our DM. You can download it that way.
Limit your screen share. What is
there?
It?
You go. Okay, I just put it into our DMs.
Okay, I will bring it up there. I was going to ask, well, there's 2 things as this is loading. I like the title enough. You guys know how I feel with the home thing. I play it up a little bit, but like I don't like the home titles. But it is what it is for a title. Sure, it's fine. I just feel like it kind of gets a little generic, but that's fine. 2, I've said this before, the guy that plays Ned, they need to just in character shave his head bald because especially since he's lost weight, like that wig looks very wiggy. And as I'm pulling this up, I just want to get your thoughts on, do you have any like correlation as far as people were pointing out that like the actual titles are the color of Spider-Man, but all the fake titles were like the Green Goblin aesthetic? Do you put any stock in that, or do you think it's just something fun?
I think it's something fun. I think they're having some fun. I like it. I like the idea, and they chose him specifically to get the fan base kind of like starting to fun because they know how we are. They know exactly how we are.
Yeah, because to me, like that would be implied. Like, and hey, maybe that is the case. Maybe we always talk about at the end of the day with like other than Wanda, there's gonna have to be some sort of main villain as far as like who's causing all this or how it happened. And maybe it is. Maybe that's the big reveal we've talked about. Like when are we getting Green Goblin? Maybe that's it. Maybe he is the main villain. So
we'll see.
I'm saving the image right now. But yeah, like I said, I think it's just like you said, fun thing for the fans. Okay, here we go. I'll share my screen here. Right. Open up this file.
And for those of you at home, just look up the whiteboard or have it on your screen in the sense of on your phone. I want to go put on my tinfoil hat with a couple of things I noticed because again, people say, oh, they're just having fun. Yeah, they're kind of having fun, but they're also, I think they're hinting towards some things.
Oh my goodness, why is it saving like that? Let's see here. Save image. I'm saving this image. This will probably be a post-credits thing. None of you will ever know this happened. The live people, good for you. Good no. Okay, I want it as it says a JPEG. That should be a JPEG.
This will be the editing of the audio saying like we're totally editing this part out.
You know what? It keeps saving in a weird way. So I'm just going to find out how I can get you to share your screen.
All right. Well, we can bypass that if you really want. at that
Well,
point.
there should be like what is so? Let's see. Share all windows from application. Automatically share. When I share directly to Zoom. Let's see. Screen capture. Capture blah blah blah. Limit your screen. Block all other windows. Like, why is it not just there? Why is you talk? But while you talk, I'm gonna find out how to do this, and then we're gonna pull it up.
You want me to just
Go.
talk through the image? I can totally do that.
Yes, go.
All right. So, if you're looking at it, you see, the title at that point, and you see all the different possible titles scrapped around it at that point, the brainstorming, less than happy reactions. Alongside some of it comes with some drawings of from familiar things from the MCU. One of them being, you get the.
Try now.
You want me to try it now? Okay. Do it now.
It's just a stupid arrow by share screen. It's just as simple as that. But you know what? I have no excuse. That.
Okay, let's see. Hold on. All right, whiteboard. Here we go. Share. Now I've got to allow certain things. This is a 20-minute harangue. Oh, it's gonna make me quit. Never mind.
What happened?
I've got to quit out of Zoom, and that's not going to work. So,
oh my god,
no big deal. No big deal. Again, all right. Anyways, so you see the arc reactor in the upper left hand part of the screen, and that obviously calling back Iron Man. You see, the Tesseract and the Spider-Man emblem all around. And then, Kevin Feige has confirmed that WandaVision will lead into No Way Home. So there's definitely a hexagon there at that point as well. So we're calling that back. And we see alongside of one of the titles, Aunt May says no, reaction to Homeschooled, giving indication that Peter is not going to be able to hide from the public, and his aunt's not going to take him to his classes online. So he is going to be in for kind of a awkward school day. And I'd probably stay away from Flash Thompson and his Instagram feed at that point.
I don't like Aunt May doing that. I feel like she should homeschool the guy.
Yeah. No Way Home is assumed to be the idea of being on the run of the events from Far From Home. But you could also, what if the official subtitle is referring to Holland's Spider-Man's predecessors having entered the MCU and they can't go back?
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought on that one. Because it's good, because if you see this, you just go, oh, it's just about him being in trouble with the law. But it's a double entendre sort of.
Yeah. So here's where I get really tinfoil hat before we kind of move on from this is the way Spider-Man is webbed up around the title. All right. Way it's kind of webbed up. It's boxed in, and the outline is a very, very good kind of shape for Puerto Rico, which is the nationality of Miles Morales. Beyond that, there is an arrow pointing from No Way Home. There's an arrow pointing toward the province of Guanica, which would be in 1898. Americans landed on the country, entering the province, and were led by General Nelson A. Miles.
Real, that is some deep dive thinking right there, sir.
Yeah, it's very. When I saw the idea, like someone put forward, that kind of looks like Puerto. So I started really going deep dive when I saw someone saying the Puerto Rico around it. So let me go deep into this and see if there's something to it, and there very much could be. So we've heard some hints about Miles possibly in this movie, possibly hints at it. So
yeah,
this whiteboard may be having some more to it than that.
So the two things I have is, I think, for one, the webcamming title, when it says keep it PG and then below it says needs home, that's definitely Kevin Feige notes. That's exactly how I imagine him. It's like Doctor Strange, it's going to be PG, you're going to love it, and then, it needs home. Second, that's a really good call out. So here's the thing, I actually completely believe that Miles Morales is in this movie. I just still have a hard time believing where. Like, I just I know people are already talking about how stuffed it is. I'm not trying to be that person, but I just feel like it is really stuffed. And like, to me, Toby, Andrew, that all makes sense, because it's like, these are characters you don't have to set up. We'll know them from other movies and whatnot. But a new Miles, like, I wonder if it's just like a little like, oh, we just meet Miles quickly and then we'll see the origin later on, or is he like do we fully get him as like when the portals open up and let's say we get a Toby and Andrew, hopefully a Spider-Gwen, is Miles come through on those two? So I guess I could see it that way if he's just in another multiverse, but if it's the setup of like him as a younger kid, that's just so much. But like I feel like he is in this with all the hints, but it's just I'm that one is the one that still surprised me the most. That
Mhm.
when I see, I'll be like, wow, they're actually doing this. Okay, and I just hope he gets enough time to shine. I hope he gets. It doesn't just feel like it's like crammed in there, unless it is just like a multiverse cameo. Then okay, fine.
Correct. Yeah. But yeah, some kind of other quick hits. Tom Holland giving interviews. One thing he is saying, he is taking a break from
Mm.
movies for a little bit. He says, talking to USA Today, I'm going to take a break and travel the world. It's the first time since I signed on to be Spider-Man that from Homecoming that I don't have a contract with someone. I might go skiing because that's something I'm not really allowed to do because it obviously is dangerous. I've been very careful over the years, which is why I've become obsessed with golf because it's the only sport I can play without getting injured. But he calls out he's not under contract anymore.
Mm.
We have been supposedly the rumor was he was in for one more solo and one more team up. Now you and I have kind of theorized, okay, maybe the idea that the team up hasn't happened, it's going to be later. But again, he called out he is not under contract anymore. So maybe this was the idea that they've melded all this together and this is it. This is the last thing he's going to do that he's under this current contract with Marvel with. So that's very interesting.
Two things. One, not a great time to pick traveling. So, Tom, I think I would maybe think about that. Two, I took it as currently contracted to do like an upcoming movie. That's how to me, take it as like,
True.
I still think he is contracted somehow by Sony to be Spider-Man. I would believe that there is an Uncharted 2 contract if that first one's successful. So that's how I took it as far as, let's say he's talking about just 2022 as of right now.
Yeah.
He's looking at a schedule, and as of right now, his agent's like, hey, do you want work? Like, do you want to do this? And
You
like,
don't
you know
have
what?
the next Marvel thing that we haven't been announced for at least a year. So do you want off?
Well, yeah, and that's to me how I took it as far as, okay, you have a year where you have no movies you're contractually obligated to do, so this is the time to do it, so do it. Because he even said, we talked about that like earlier in our chat, was just like, he also said, I'm going to be Spider-Man as long as they let me if it's the next
Correct.
10 years, which I'm all down for. I love that Hemsworth, like, I'd be the same way as far as like some people are like, I kind of want out. No, I'm doing this till you kick me out. Like, no way. And that's why I love that mentality. And he's great. He's young. Let him do it for another 10 years. That's fine.
Yeah.
As long as he wants to. There's so many Peter Parker, like these huge heroes, like the X-Men, Spider-Man, Batman, Superman. There's hundreds of stories. And that's why I hate when people go, oh, another Batman movie. There's so many stories we've not even seen touched from comic books. And that's the same with Spider-Man. It's like, you could have a plethora of stories. So I took it as just he's not contractually obligated to do anything for a movie filming wise. But of course, I think he still is that MCU one. I think he still is one with Sony,
Yeah.
whether it's Uncharted. So
Well,
I think that means we'll
talks.
probably see him down the line for his crossover movie.
Well, true. He even talks about like they asked Kleider asked him if if the Sony and Marvel deal is this the end of it, and
Yeah.
he feels pretty confident that he doesn't foresee. I mean, whatever he's been privy to, if anything, at least in his mind, he feels we're not going to have another breakup. I don't think the selling of it to Marvel. I think they've worked out in his opinion, they've worked out their differences. They have an idea. There's not going to be him crying on the phone to Sony and Kevin Feige to keep the family together.
No.
Again,
Yeah.
that's his opinion.
Yeah.
We don't know what if anything, it may be his well wishing.
No, 100%, 100%. If you were to ask me, I would say they are playing more nice. I still want a little bit more details on like what's going on with the Olivia Wilde's movie that we kind of talked about months ago. It's like, is it connected to the MCU or not? So, and I do want to see in Multiverse, do we see a Venom Morbius? In Morbius, what is the extent of Michael Keaton's role? I'm sure it's just a cameo, but how much do they allude? So, I'll take him as value for now, but at the same point, I feel like all of us thought, oh, they'll for sure continue the relationship. And then one week it was just like, no, we're done. So, until Sony gets, bought by Marvel or they get sold off, like, Sony gets sold and the rights just revert back, I'll always kind of worry like, oh, they could pull the rug any moment now. So, but I hope it sticks. I like the partnership idea. Yes, I'm not the biggest fan of the Sony verse, the Spunkink or whatever it is, but yeah, I'm hopeful that Tom Holland sticks around.
Yeah, so we'll see. But Kevin Feige spoke with I don't know if it was speaking with Hollywood Reporter, or I think just his conversations through the TCA
Yeah.
upfronts at that point, talking about different things. And this is directly coming from Hollywood Reporter. A couple of things he dropped, some interesting hints. Looking at the plan for the current and future Disney Plus shows.
Mm.
He said, I've been Marvel too long to say definitive, or yes to anything in regards to another season for WandaVision. And basically, he goes on to say that the idea, it's fun in the MCU that all crossovers between series and films, sometimes a show will go into a season 2 and sometimes it will go into a movie and then back into a series. We're all keeping in mind the structure that will lead into a season 2 or 3 on those shows, more than a show like WandaVision that clearly goes into a feature film. Maybe someday we'll chart out 5 seasons of a show, but we're focusing delivering seasons the best we can, one at a time or so far. So he didn't say WandaVision is not a season 2. I'm of the idea that this probably is more of an event that's not going to be repeated. Maybe a different series with Wanda, maybe. But I do think, and I think we've heard a lot of subtle hints that Falcon and Winter Soldier is one that will be a season 2. It won't be Falcon and Winter Soldier, be Falcon and someone else. I think the rumors have been. Loki is very heavily rumored that it has been greenlit for a season 2. But I could see, again, I think that's a good mix. Have event series, have seasons. I think it like, Miss Marvel, that definitely very much opens itself up to a season 2 after Captain Marvel 2. She-Hulk opens itself up to seasons. So but I do think Secret Invasion is an event series.
Yeah.
I think Armor Wars is an event series.
Yeah, so Fanboy Clay, to his response, I'm thinking too, you're talking about your whiteboard saying, Chris, you've been watching too many TikTok theories, You're
you
going
keep on bringing
there.
You keep on bringing them to me. I don't on TikTok, Clay. I blame you.
I know, me either. I've never, and Clay, I hate to say it, I never watch them because you always send them at work, and I can't watch TikToks while I'm at work, especially nowadays. So I'm the other route as far as when you said maybe Wanda. I think we could see Vision again one day if this Snow Vision snicks around and he does forge with this one. What if we do get that kind of similar comics moment where at the end of this show he goes, hey, like, I kind of have a sense of you, but I don't like. What if in that transformation, I think this Vision, this new Vision, will have a lack of humanity, maybe, right? And maybe
like
a
in
bit
the
more
comics.
Ultron-like, and he won't have the memories. Where the other Vision, he doesn't have the memories, but he has a bit more of his humanity, because I think it's just kind of what Scarlet Witch put on his personality. I could see the melding of this Vision, the new Vision gets that humanity, but then he also gets the no memories. And then you would get a very much similar to the comics, what we talked about as far as, hey, I kind of know you, but I don't love you, and I don't have these memories, and that could send Scarlet Witch off as well to her omission or whatnot. So I could see us one day getting, because WandaVision's such a hit that Tom King's WandaVision is enough of, they wouldn't call it WandaVision, but it would be like a spiritual successor, right? It'd be like a semi-season to the show about Suburbicon, stuff like that, and Vision trying to do family. I could easily see them doing a full-on adaptation, not full, but you know what I mean, like taking the idea of the Vision and him trying to start a family. Maybe that's the idea of this new Vision goes, hey, I had some with Scarlet Witch, but I don't really love her. What if I could build someone I love? And maybe in that series, that's how he slowly starts to regain his things about Wanda, as far as, like kind of in the comic we talk about, like he put pieces of a Wanda into Virginia, right? Her personality. So I think Vision and the Vision is still possible, even though this show was inspired by it. Doesn't mean it's out of the table. Like that's why the dog could be Sparky, because like he wants it to be like that. Like it could literally be him trying to recreate what he had with Wanda. And I think anything's on the table as far as these shows and as far as what works as a season 1 or season 2. Like we said before, maybe Falcon and somebody else. I still think it's going to be Captain America and somebody else.
Yeah,
I think
that would be awesome. I would like to see the series end with I want to see Sam truly take on the mantle.
Yeah, and I think that works. Or like you've said before, we could get the Captain America and Nomad, and maybe Bucky says, hey, you're taking a new personality, I may as well too. Because why would you want to be Winter Soldier? Why would you want to go by that name? The guy that like has killed innocent people, killed Tony Stark's parents. Like, I feel like a name change, or like White Wolf, whatever it may be. Yeah. But I think that works. I laugh when he's like, oh, we don't have any plans yet for anything 5 years down the line. But it's like, yeah, but we know you. At some point you do. And I feel like that's a little IP called X-Men. And I still think that the way you go about for an X-Men TV show I've been talking about lately is do an X-Men but Hogwarts. Pick some lesser known students and have them, let's see them through the years go up to when they get to the school and have it kind of like the way X-Men Evolution was when they kind of aged them really all down. Do that. Get like a Spike, get like, that's where you could do, and get like one key young mutant, get like a Nightcrawler or a Rogue, but then get a bunch of, get Warpath, get like a bunch of lower, more B tier, and then have it like Harry Potter. That's what I'd hope, and that'd make a perfect TV show for Disney Plus to see throughout the years. So kind of like Umbrella Academy, which I've never watched, but I've heard it kind of has that sort of style. So I could see an X-Men Academy or just like, Xavier School for the Gifted series.
Yeah. It definitely, speaking my alley, I think I've had a fact or fiction or two revolving around that. Loki, we got a date out of this. It will now come out June 11th, so we will have a break of Marvel shows after Falcon and Winter Soldier that month, where we're seeing possibly Black Widow drop in that month. So that's probably why that moved out of the May date and moved to June 11th.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. He did talk about rated R MCU movies with Deadpool 3, asking basically, is there going to be any more? We have never been held back by the idea of sticking to PG-13 ratings. If we ever are, then we certainly, there could be a discussion to be had, but that just hasn't been the case yet. There's still no plans to explore rated R-rated movies in MCU. Naturally, if there is a story where they would make sense, sure, we would have to discuss it. Don't hold your breath, but again, right now there are no future plans for it. So again, I know one of my fact or fiction will look at that in a little bit. The idea of, yeah, exactly. I believe him when he says it right now. We all said that means Blade's over. I think maybe it may not be Blade, but I think I've said it before. I think Deadpool is the test case. If that movie is massively successful, it is going to be hard for Kevin Feige to ignore the possibility of just turning down money on the table like that. Especially, again, he is very focused if the story is appropriate. We're not just going to make a rated R movie just because we can. He wants to continue the brand. He wants to bring maybe something new to show that the MCU can do a rated R movie. Deadpool is a test case.
Yes, because how we got Deadpool 2? Because Deadpool 1 was successful. If Deadpool 1 wasn't successful, Fox went, this experiment didn't work. We're not going to do this anymore. And that's how we also got Logan, in my opinion. Obviously a very different type of R rating, but like you said, there's no plans for it. But they say the same thing when there's no plans for Black Widow to release on Disney Plus. Yeah, there's no plans as of right now. But then let's say, maybe there is right now, but I'm saying when they've said that, then it comes a week, something changes, they go, okay. And same thing, Deadpool could be the something changes. Because I guarantee you, he's had conversations with Iger, who has told Chapek to, do what I do. He's had conversations where probably Iger has been like, hey, you can do this, but be careful, because we have a brand, and it's also a very successful brand. There's nothing you can like or not like the MCU, that's fine, but you cannot argue against their financials. And whatever this team has done, biggest movie of all time, these franchises, their films average $1 billion. They average. Obviously, COVID's going to change that, but before phase 1 to phase 3, you can take them all, average them $1 billion. That is hugely impressive. So same thing. Let's say if they do Deadpool, and we've talked about this before. What if families do really reject it? I know it's not for families, but if it is hey, why is Tom Holland in this, and why can't my kid watch another edition of the MCU? Before this felt like a whole experience we could all watch together. What if they do the rated R, and just even critically and fan wise, we go, nah, you guys kind of did a glossy rated R. This isn't really the rated R of Deadpool, and it doesn't work all the way. There's so many ways. Just because it's Ryan Reynolds rated R and Disney, I think it will be successful because I trust these parties. But people have bad days at the offices, and what if it's not good? And then they go, they didn't make any promises. Because if he comes out and says, we're gonna do, this is the first of many, and then they don't do it, then he looks like he has egg on his face. We're Kevin Feige, the ever the wordsmith. We have no plans as of right now. Of course. And like you said, I agree with you 100% that Deadpool is the test. And let's see, because if it works, then maybe they go, oh, you know what? We could do some more. And Blade, who knows? At the end of the day, I know people say, oh, he's a vampire, but he has to be PG-13. Yeah, I get the sentiment, but I don't think he has to. All I care about is a great story. It helped a lot that Logan was rated R, but at the end of the day, that to me is not why I love it. It was about this man dealing with his immortality and this possible clone / daughter of himself and his weird father figure. All the rated R stuff, the violence, the swearing, it helped, but the story, the acting, the character work, that's what made it great, And
yeah,
the same thing could be done for Blade.
like we said, he did not close the door permanently. He said, we don't have any plans, but if
Hmm.
something comes up, we'll discuss it. I
Yeah.
like that answer because it's non-committal, but it doesn't close the door. But we can
Yeah.
read between the lines. So the last part of this, he gives a little shine to what was previously done with the Defenders and Agents of Shield, bringing it up. Talking about Feige's pushing back on the notion that we're the other MCU, the we're connected, not really.
Hmm.
It being giving them some credit. He said, I think there are legions of Agents of Shield fans, me, and Daredevil fans, me and you as well, and
Hmm.
Jessica Jones fans, and Luke Cage fans. You left out Iron Fist. And
Yeah,
that
he got it a
that in
trend though,
terms,
so that's good.
yeah, that I will disagree with you on that they were not successful. There is a very big fan base on those, and we don't want to ignore it. He said, I'm not exactly sure of the exact contracts, but perhaps someday, Feige said when asked about reviving the characters, someday we could do it. I'll just say that there are often rumors that are true, and there are often rumors that are not true. It was a great fun to have Clark Gregg, Agent Coulson come back to the MCU and Captain Marvel, but everything else we'll just have to see. So some good little tidbits about that.
Hmm.
I'm glad he gave some credence and he took the route again. We know and we've seen the rumors at that point. Some of them are going to be true, but they're going to come back in. And if it's going to be Charlie Cox being the first and then hopefully Kristen Ritter coming in and reprising Jessica Jones, please. I would love Michael Coulter to come back in Luke Cage, but if we at least get something to show that we're acknowledged in the past and they get to reprise those roles, I'll take it right now.
I think it's nice, but it definitely points to the rumors being true because I feel like you asked Kevin Feige 5 years ago about those shows, and he wouldn't crap on them, but he was very dismissive, like, "Oh, those are their own thing," like he's not saying they're in the MCU, but I just feel like he's talking them up in just such a way now where it's like, okay, you want to talk them up so people will be like, you know what, I should go watch these because they might be when they pop up in the MCU, they go, oh, I'm gonna watch these shows and I like the MCU a bit more. So that to me is like anytime, same thing. Like I remember when Blade got cast as or other way around, when Mahershala got cast as Blade, he was like, oh. Okay, talk about dumb questions. One guy asked, like, is he connected to the Luke Cage Netflix series all? And like, one, why would you ask that? Clearly a different character. But Feige was like, no, 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 that those are separate things. And he just quickly shot down. So I think it's good he's talking about, but I think it's as Feige always, he's very political and he's a smart guy with what he says. And I think that's him planting seeds of like, you may see all these barring Iron Fist again, like, and I think it's great. I do think it is interesting to see what they do in the future as far as because I feel like Daredevil and Jessica Jones had the most fanfare, and I do think it would be. It's kind of we've talked about this with Evan Peters of if they bring back Daredevil and Jessica Jones, but let's say they recast Mike Cole or recast Luke Cage. Well, that's a little crappy for Mike Coulter. That's a little and that's where it's like so. Do you do the it's all of it or none of it? And that's where I think I'm hoping, same thing as Evan Peters, we're doing this. Okay, you could watch their shows. They could be backstory, but really this is our own version. But hey, I'm excited. We're getting all more rumors about Daredevil. They're filming court scenes in Spider-Man. Hopefully, that's what it sounds like. So I am my body is ready as Reggie would say.
Yep, exactly. So well, that's the news. That's
Mm-hmm.
all the news that fits to print right now.
Well, we'll take our last ad break and then we'll do fact or fiction, and then I guess we should do like a mini update on Comic Book Club because we don't have anything
Yep.
official, but just like what we're doing with it. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back after this ad break. And we're back. So yeah, we're gonna talk about fact or fiction, but let's do Comic Book Club because I think what we'll do is we've kind of talked about this as with the new host. Probably Comic Book Club would kick in. The new one will be.
It would
I
probably be the week after at that point.
Yeah,
Well,
probably week
so
after.
so yeah, so we're tossing around. Travis and I are tossing around some themes at that point. We don't have our host yet, so we're kind of just hoping that. So sorry, you get to pick the next one, and it'd be, but we want to at least have something ready to go. So we are taking a little bit of break from Comic Book Club just because with Travis's time limited, there aren't necessarily. Yeah, we could do like 3 or 4 issues, but we'll take a little break from it. But what we're going to be doing, and this will happen next week after the show, we'll put this out there, but we're looking at doing 2 different kind of polls. We're going to do a theme poll first.
Mm-hmm.
The theme poll is going to revolve around 2 different themes. We're going to hold off on telling you what those themes are first. We'll do that next week. From those themes, whatever theme wins out from it, we will then present 4 different arcs from those themes. at that point for you all to choose from. And whatever that is chosen, that will be our comic book club that will premiere the week after our new host is announced. So it'll be after the 23rd.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to vote and see what's going to happen. 'Cause, yeah, we just didn't want to start one and then in the middle me leave, and like the new host should get to start off their own as well. I had an idea though. What if next week and the week after for Comic Book Club that you pick an issue of What If, and then the week after I pick an issue of What If, and we do that, just those one-offs on Marvel Unlimited. Just like look at the titles because like that fills it up, and that'd be kind of fun as far as like very easy to read. We just talk about a little bit, and because I saw the What If, like I've read some before, but I was just reading, like looking through the list, like there's so many good ones. So I'd be down for something like that if you want to finish off Comic Book Club for us.
We can do that.
Yeah,
this was totally unplanned. I'm down. I'm down for that.
Yeah, no, I know. I didn't mean to spring it on you, but I literally had this idea of like, because you said, oh, we couldn't do any. There, like, we could do some 3 to 4 issue arc, but I'm like, yeah, that'd be kind of weird. But like, what if I was like, what's some one offs? I'm like, well, What If wouldn't be too bad. I know you might even do those again when the show comes out, but still, like, there's hundreds of What Ifs. There's like every decade, some artist is like, we're gonna do like a run of 20 comics, but
what if Phoenix won?
Yeah, yeah. So I have a couple ideas, but yeah, let's do.
Yeah, so we'll I'll give you the themes for next week, and we'll put those out next week. So like I said, you'll be voting on the themes first. Whatever theme wins, we'll come up with 4 different arcs for you all to choose from. So
you can go back, and if you want to get like TikTok Charlie Day, you can go back months ago. And one time, me and Chris on Twitter just had a feed of like we could do this, and same thing. Like I'm gonna be reading along, and the episodes I guest on, I'll be a part of Comic Book Club if my time permits, everything, because it gives me whatever you guys do. Gives me excuse to read more comic books and everything. Like, okay, like same thing. It's just like which I was gonna ask you. Have you ever read the follow up to Tom King's The Vision, but it wasn't written by him? Because I never have.
No,
they did some like mini thing in 2018. Yeah, I'm gonna check it out because I've never heard anything about it. So I imagine it's not like the greatest, but it's like, I was a little curious after, I guess, when it ended with Virginia again, when we did it, I was like, you know what? I wonder what was next. And obviously not much fanfare, but hey, it doesn't ruin the experience. I'm going to try to look into that and see what the deal was,
Yeah. So
all right.
So Fact or Fiction's pulled up?
Yes. The whole time I was talking, it did not pull up. So way to go, Travis. So yes, let me pull it up. But yeah, we have some good polls. This is me killing time. This is me. Here we go. Fact or Fiction, we will see Tom Holland's Spider-Man get a chance to tackle the Black Costume Saga. We talked about this, like the pros and cons for it, and I think the people voting felt the same way because 54% fact, 46% fiction. So almost 50-50. And I think it's kind of like what we pointed out last week, where there's like lots of reasons to do it. Very popular suit, very popular storyline. Has been done well, but then cons as far as, well, when it was done awful. You have Venom right now, so it doesn't really work. Would Sony want to do that? So I think people were feeling conflicted like us as far as whether it was going to happen. Assuming Deadpool is a success, Marvel Studios will greenlight one more new Ray R franchise, 60% fact and 40% fiction. And this, ladies and gentlemen, this poll was out after Feige gave those comments. So people are still, I think, kind of like what you were saying as far as, yeah, if it's successful, they may change their tune, and not even change their tune, but just be more open to, okay, we could do this again. So, and the final poll of Chris's is there will be an Agents of Shield, then Agents of Sword show on Disney Plus within 5 years. 77% fiction, 23% fact. I agreed with that last week just because they could do Agents of Atlas and stuff like that, but I still feel like, hey, that could be Jimmy Woo. They bring him into Sword because they're like, you were here the whole time and we like you. It is so like there's tons of play, and I would hope they maybe not make them as long as the original seasons of Agent Shield, but good like 9 to 10 half an hour episodes, mini adventures. I'm down, so let's bring it. So
we'll see. What do you got?
I have a theme this week, and I'm going with villains. So all of them revolve around villains. So let's start off with just the obvious one. We will see Agatha again after WandaVision. So I'm not saying as usual, not flashback, not footage, like new footage scene. We will see her again.
I say fact. I think so. I think it's a character that I want to know more about, and to see her only doing this, I think it's kind of she can be ever present. In fact, in the comics, she's ever present, so it fits.
I will say fact, but I'll still say I'm a little bit worried because we have seen this Marvel and MCU sometimes with their villains. They do these one-offs and we never see them again. And as of right now, I always thought Hela was going to come back soon, whether it even be Infinity War or in Thor 4. And there's been, unless there's some secret, there's been nothing. And that to me is a character where we learned some, but there's still so much to learn about her. And if she never comes back, it's like, okay, even Red Skull, yeah, he came back in Infinity War, but he's still kind of a one-off villain, right? He's not, he's in First Avenger and that's it. So I'm gonna, I've talked myself out of it. I think, because the thing is, like, don't you think we would have heard if she was in Doctor Strange 2 by now? We would have like set photos or something like that.
Hey, you know what? I did have a Factor Fiction. They were going to keep a secret of a cameo that was going to be a game changer. I know it's going to be someone new, but I'm just saying, like, they can keep things secret.
Yeah, it's true. You know what? For Devil's Advocate, I'll say fiction. I'll say they're gonna kill her off, one and done. They'll refer to her, and that's it. That's it. So just some old kind of rumblings of old Marvel there in my belly. Thanos will return in Phase 5. So to give you a little clarification of why I picked 5 is because 4 definitely not happening, and I'm talking about like present day. He would come as Stones, not the he has a flashback in Eternals or he's in Eternals, which is a prequel-ish. And the reason I didn't choose 6 is because that's so far away. Lots could change. I could see lots of time happening. That could be another 10 years from now. So it's like, okay, enough time. I think 5 was that sweet spot of like, is it, too soon to bring him back? Has been enough time. So will Thanos return in Phase 5?
As a prominent role or just the character?
Just at all. Yeah, just the character. He pops out that stone. That's all. I'll say that when I tweet it out too, that he's back in present day. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that as a fact. I think, kind of like, I think he's even more, he's one of those characters in the Marvel Universe that is always coming back up in some way, shape, or form in the comics. So I could see him coming back. I don't think he'll be the big antagonist, but I think he'll be there.
I agree. I think I'll say fact with this asterisk of I think they will Avengers him again, where Phase 5 will be ending and he could be like the very last end credit thing that we get in Phase 5. Like the same way people are speculating like Phase 4 is going to end with an end credit that would be the first like real big tease to the X-Men. I could see Phase 5's last tease being like, oh, and guess who's back? Like I've said, like once if theaters are back, and I hope they are in the way that they get full crowds, I cannot wait to sit in the theater if this is the end credit scene where the end credit happens and somehow that portal or stone opens up and Thanos pops out. That whole theater is going to gasp. And it's just like a moment I want to live in, like, oh my goodness. And I hope it happens. So I probably should end it with Thanos because he's the big one, but what?
Nothing. I'm just reading something that makes me laugh.
Oh, yeah. And then, so this one was inspired by a couple weeks ago when I watched Ant-Man and Wasp. But like I said, I should have saved Thanos last. He's a bigger one. But you know what? I really like this character, Ghost. Ghost will be a member of the Thunderbolts. If we get the Thunderbolts, that is. But let's say there is. Will she be a member?
It's interesting. I'm not as familiar as I'm not as familiar with the character as Ghost as others, but could it work? Yeah, it would be another one. I think it's going to be a mix of quote unquote antagonists that we have seen before with some newbies as well. So I think that would be a good one because her character didn't die.
Yep.
It's still trying to find the how to live in this world with her powers and things like that. So yeah,
and she kind of had like a mini good guy turn at the end as far as like
she did. So this is a way for her to kind of satisfy this being the kind of quote unquote rebel, but also quote unquote being the good guy or a good rebel. Girl or good woman or however you want to call it, good person.
Good ghost.
Let's go.
Good ghost.
Good person.
Yeah. I like the idea of kind of rebel with the heart. I'll say fact because I feel like I think they're not going to do the Avengers and just have one woman on the Avengers for 3 years. I think they'll know, okay, that's where I hope I shared this on Tour Day of someone being like, man, I hope Agatha is a part of the Thunderbolts. I don't think that makes any sense, but I hope they find a way to do because I think Catherine Hahn on the Thunderbolts team, damn, that would be such good television or movie to watch. But I think she fits because Thunderbolts to me is always a bit more techie. Like they have like assassins and stuff like that. And to me, like she has the powers, but she's also that type of way where the way she moves and fights. I liked her powers. I like that actress. I think we didn't get enough of Ghost. We just got a taste of it. And it ended in a way where, yeah, she didn't die. She wasn't in prison. And to me, it's an easy way for the government sort of to be like, hey, you did bad things. Yeah, you've turned good, but you still need to right some wrongs, and you're on this team. And I could see it. Like I said, her and Bill Foster were up to some shenanigans at the end, trying to, maybe be a bit more better. So I'm going to say fact on this. I think she'd be on the team. And I think her kind of powers would caused some like really good set pieces. They did an Ant-Man and the Wasp, so if they're doing any heist episode or part of the movie, she's perfect. So I'm a factor on this one. I hope it is. You know?
Yeah. So we'll see. So
Mhm.
we'll put those out there, and it'll be my turn next week. And
Chair's broken.
yeah, whoops. But yeah, so yeah, another episode wrapped up.
Yep, all in the books. So, yeah, no, thanks everyone for tuning in. That was volume 34. 34. Oh, my goodness. I went back in the past. 38.
38.
I just saw 34 on my screen here. But, yeah, it was a good one. We got to talk about. I'm excited next week because hopefully we're going to guess. We will, as usual, day of, we'll say we'll be out of guess. But we usually don't announce it for two reasons. One, we always like the surprise factor. And two, if they cancel, you didn't miss out on anything because you never knew. That's the thing. And not that they would cancel, but people in life get busy and whatnot. So we might have a guest next week with us. If we don't, Chris and I are going to be talking about WandaVision. I think that is going to be a great episode because that's just going to have lots of discussion. I can feel it already. With that episode, there's going to be some big bullet points. And yeah, just another good time. So I thank you, Chris. I thank the listeners.
Yeah.
I hope, as always, people are out there doing safe and whatnot and being safe. Vaccines are going out there. We're getting closer and closer. The finish line is still ways and ways away, but the good thing is like it's somewhat in sight. So just keep being safe out there, and I hope everyone is happy as they can be.
Yes, exactly. So you can follow me on Twitter at Chris Balga. You can follow the show at Marvel A Podcast, and me personally, again, at Chris Balga. It's already the end of the night. You can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network at GUA Pod Network. Feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, ask Factor Fictions, ask questions, prevent your last minute WandaVision theories, or after you're done, what are your theories for moving on? And definitely continue to rate and review the podcast network on your Apple Podcast or whatever your podcatcher choice may be. As Travis said, thank you, listeners. Thank you, those who joined us in the chat live. As always, stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior.